Hello, Sainath.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Then, okay. Let us start. More than 50 participants have joined.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Fine, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Good morning, participants, and good morning, Sainath.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
I welcome you all to this uh, first session of the final day of this 5 days online FDP on artificial intelligence and machine learning, sponsored by Oracle Academy. Uh, Yesterday we had introduction to classification using scikit-learn in Google Colab. So today also we'll be designing a deep neural network for image classification, and Sinus is with us. So I request him to start the session. And if you have any queries regarding yesterday's session, you can start with that. If any participant have any queries pertaining to the uh, talk yesterday, okay, so you can go ahead with that. Then we can start with designing a deep neural network for image classification. Okay, so Sainath, I request you to start the session.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, a very good morning to all of you.
Good morning,
Hello.
sir.
Yeah, my voice is audible to everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah, like as sir said, if you have any queries in the last session, you please let me know. Otherwise, today we are going to start with a deep neural network. Any queries from the last session? Oh, no queries. Fine then. So like similar way, like I have done yesterday, I'll be sharing the Google Colab link. So all of you please open that, and we'll more focus on coding rather than the theoretical and mathematical aspects. Okay. So just wait. I'll be sharing my screen and sharing the code as well. So, this is open. Yeah, please open the link, whatever has been provided to you in the chat box, and you can take the help of that link. Okay, while we go through this coding part. Yeah, so let me briefly explain what we are going to do, and then we'll come to the coding.
Sir, the link you have shared, it is showing access denied.
Oh, just wait, ma'am. Please wait. Access denied. Please check it again, ma'am. Please check it again.
Okay. Yeah, it's opening now.
It's opening now. Fine then. Okay. Fine. So let me start with a very brief introduction to neural network because we need to use the terminology in the program. Okay. So very brief introduction to what we do in the neural network and how a neuron works. Hardly in 5 minutes I will wrap it up. So this is a neuron, and it will take some inputs. Okay. So say this is some x1 input. This is some x2 inputs, and so on. We have say n number of inputs, and each of this input is given some weightage, say w1, w2, and so on wn. And we assume that there is one more input which is constant, that is 1, and it has some weightage w0, and you may also call it to be as the bias. And then what is happening at this neuron? So at this neuron, all these input values, they have been multiplied with their weights, and the summation takes place. summation of wi xi takes place. I ranges from 0 to n. And this summation is passed through something called an activation function, preferably a nonlinear activation function, which will give you some output y. So here you can say there is some phi as an activation function, and there is this summation is happening here. Summation, then activation function, you are getting the output y. So it can be anywhere value between 0 and 1 if you have normalized it, or it can be any real value in case of regression problems. So this is how a single neuron works. The inspiration has been taken from how a neuron in a brain works. Now if you stack up these neurons, so many neurons in layers, and in sequence
Excuse me,
of
sir.
layers, yeah, please tell me, sir.
Sir, this nonlinear activation function is a binary function.
See, it can be you can say for the time being it's a binary function. It need not be a binary function, it's a continuous value.
Okay.
Suppose
but its
we
value
take-
will range from 0 to 1. Not
See,
necessarily.
value ranges from 0 to n if it is a sigmoid function. 1 by 1 plus e to the power of minus x.
Right.
Okay? If it is a tan hyperbolic function, it values rise between -1 to +1. Okay?
Now you wrote
So,
it's,
I'm
it's a
giving just
closed
some-
interval 0 to 1. You wrote it is closed interval 0 to 1. So
Yeah, it is a f of x equal to sigmoid activation. In such case, it goes from closed interval 0 to 1.
okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyhow, see, I mean, yeah, if it is a tan hyper, depending on the activation function, if it is a ReLU, rectified linear unit, its value can be anything from if it is 0 to plus infinity. So I hope I just wanted to know neural networks has been covered in the previous lectures. Yeah,
Partly, sir. Partly covered.
So
yeah, only
we
introduction
need only the introduction, no details, no
Yes,
gradient
yes.
descent, no backpropagation.
Okay,
So I
sir.
assume all of you are comfortable with the terms, weights, biases, activation function, gradient descent, and all those things. Anyhow, this is how a single neuron works. Now what we do, we're trying to imitate the brain, and we have lots and lots of neurons. Okay. So assume that these are again our inputs, x1, x2, x3. So these are like an input, these are the input layer. In a very standard diagram, you will have so many layers in the middle, which is called hidden layer. And from every neuron, from this neuron to this neuron, this neuron to this neuron, from every neuron, okay? So there is a connection from every neuron in the previous layer to the neuron in the next layer. This kind of a network, this kind of a connection is called densely connected, DNS. You will see that in the program, okay? And as you can see, the information is only flowing from like in one direction. So if you have some output neurons here, okay, in one direction, that is why these are called feed-forward networks. So I'm not drawing all the connection. So we have, this is the input layer. We have this one, this is the input layer. And the second one is the hidden layer. The third one, you may call it as the output layer. So this diagram is extremely famous and it's everywhere. So and at every neuron here, and as well as here, the same phenomenon, whatever is shown above, it is happening. So many inputs are there, they have been multiplied with their weights. And at the neuron, summation is taking place, the weighted summation taking place. And now this summation is being given as an input to the, say, this nonlinear activation function. The special case is the sigmoidal function or the logistic function. So you give it, and that output is taken. And those output is taken finally, say y1, y2, y3. So we come into the neural networks. These 3-layer neural network having one hidden layer, okay? So there is some theoretical proof or very strong statements that it can approximate any complex function. Any complex function, whatever is available, it can approximate, assuming that we have sufficient number of neurons in the hidden layer and also sufficient number of the data, training data. So in practice, what we do, we don't have only one hidden layer and so many neurons. We have a more shallow networks, more we will have multiple layers, 2 hidden layers, 3 hidden layers. If it has more than 2 hidden layers, That's called a deep neural networks. The word deep comes into the picture, the deep learning, all those things. So if you have even 2 hidden layers, that's called a deep neural network, or 3 hidden layers, it's called a deep neural network. With 1 hidden layer, we never call it as a deep neural network. So now, whenever we take some problem, and the problem that we are going to address today is a very simple and standard problem, handwritten digit recognition. So I write some number 7, 8, 2, okay, and I take an image of it. And that image is given as an input. This is my input. The image is given as an input. And what I wanted to know what number it is. So we have only numbers from 10 different numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on till 9, right? So my input is the image. And what is that image? Handwritten digits. And I can have so many hidden layers or 1 hidden layer. We will see that today we are going to look at only 1 hidden layer. And my output is, it can be 0 or 1, 2 or anything or 9. So so what I can have is that we have 10 different outputs. So I will have 10 neurons in the output layer. So in general, depending on the problem, what we are trying to solve, the input layer, more specifically, the number of neurons in the input layer and also the number of neurons in the hidden layer. Sorry, number of neurons in the output layer, they are fixed. So in this case, depending on the dimension of the image, the input layer will be fixed. The number of neurons in the input layer is fixed. And now I am trying to categorize into 10 categories, like it can be 0 or 1, 2, and so on 9. 10 different classes are possible. So the number of neurons in the output layer is like 10. That is also fixed. Now what happens inside is just like a repetition and iteration. You have to keep on changing the number of neurons, the number of hidden layers, the activation functions, the learning rate. Many parameters have to be, you need to keep on changing them, iterate it so many times until and unless you get a very good accuracy. And when you get good accuracy, you stop the process. And that is the philosophy. And depending on the expertise, depending on how well we understand the algorithm, of course, people have advantage on how to choose the initial learning rate, learning schedule, which optimization algorithm. Many such things are there. But today we don't need to go through all the details. But once we have some problem, how can we use the Keras library? And simply we can make a model, okay, which can predict this handwritten digits. Okay. So that is a brief thing about the neural networks. I'll come back to it again whenever it is required. So some idea of backpropagation algorithm. What do you mean by loss function? So in case of regression, okay, regression problems in neural networks, the loss function that you have already used is the mean square error function, isn't it? The mean square error function has been used, and that has been, we computed the error for each and every output. The error has been taken back and used to update the weights from output layer to the hidden layer and so on. So that algorithm is called the backpropagation algorithm, which almost all of you know. So those things, there will be hardly one line of code. Everything will be taken back internally. So we will see that. And let's go to the coding part and also the data set. So all of you please open this. So typing everything may take some time. All you can do is that you open this thing and you open a new notebook and then copy the lines, run them and understand it. Okay, all of you please follow that. So this is practice. You can say practice or repetition. You can give any name, whatever you want. Okay. So this is the MNIST data set. This is really like a hello world of deep learning or CNNs. So this is the data set, the MNIST database of handwritten digits. Extremely famous. And if you want to know the more details, so much of information is already available. You can click on this link. So click on the link, automatically this website will get opened. So total, so it is very well organized data set. It already has the training images, testing images, and the corresponding labels also. It has everything. So as usual, we will see that we are going to import this data set from Keras library directly. In real life, you will have your data set on your on your system. You have to import it to the drive, and then you have to call back. So that you have to learn on your own. But here, in order to run a neural network using Keras library, we are going to import it directly. So let us start. So MNIST dataset. You can see, we will see how many examples are there, training, testing. Everything can be seen from the program itself directly. So I hope all of you are following. So the first one, from keras.datasets, import MNIST. So you can simply copy it. So the philosophy is same as what we have done in the previous class. Dataset, training, testing, running a model. So all we need to know is that how do we call this? How do we make this architecture? So whatever we are going to do today is slightly different from the last class in a way. Developing this network, this neural network, and initiating this backpropagation or the loss function, same mean square error, which you know. So how do you do these things with few lines of code? That is the only different part. Apart from that, the same philosophy is applied. You take the data, you load it, put into training and testing, call a model, fit the model, and then test it on the testing data set, and print the accuracy. Same philosophy is followed, and let's do that. We have almost more than 1 hour to do it. So again, copy this thing, or you can type from keras.datasets, import MNIST. So you just copy it, and then run it again. Hopefully there should not be any errors. I have already run them in the morning. So you run it by clicking this button or shift and enter. So initially it will take some time to get connected. So please run it. So after that, now we don't need to even split. In the last lecture, we have seen that using scikit-learn train test split function, we have split the data into training and testing. We have to read X and Y, all those things. Here, they are already like the dataset is readily available in terms of splitting. They are already split into training and testing and the corresponding labels. All we need to do is that these two tuples, training images, training labels, test images, test labels. So all we need to do is that we need to call this function, okay? Call this, create an instance of the class object, and automatically the data is fed into these variables: train images, train labels, test images, test labels. So this is the first step. So the data set we need to obtain, and this MNIST dot load underscore data. So by calling this, okay, this function, we are automatically getting all the data into these 4 variables: train images and the corresponding labels, test images and the corresponding labels. So you may type it or simply copy it. Copy cell. If I'm going fast, please let me know and please interrupt. So run it. After this, simply click on this button. It will run. And then plus code. So these 2 steps are clear. Please let me know. Import the dataset, MNIST, and from here you have to train images, train labels, test images, test labels. All the data has been taken into these 4 values, 4 variables. Is it clear? Participants, please respond. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. So once we import it, so once we got our data, let's look into what are these things. You just look at these variables, train images. Train images, you just copy it and see what is the shape, what are those values. Train images dot shape. How many are there? How many training images are there? Let's look into it. So 6,000, no sorry, 60,000. 60,000 training images are there, and each one is of the dimension 28 by 28. So in our mobile phones, we have a very much higher resolution, 16 megapixels, 24 megapixels. So these are very small, 28 by 28, very small. Okay, so that is the dimension. And similarly, you can look at the labels also. Train labels, Control C, Control V, and then you can run enter and look at the labels. So 504 and so on. Like each of these images has a given label, 5 or 4, whatever it actually corresponds to. Wanted to know the shape? Shape also will be 60,000. Okay. So train images, and again train labels. Similarly, you can do the same thing for the testing images. How many are there? They will be 10,000. Test images dot shape. Similarly, test labels dot shape. Okay. So 10,000. So now our data set is ready. Now training data, testing data, everything is ready. So all we need to do is that we need to call a model or develop the neural network and then use the dot fit function. Do the training in just one line. So slowly we are going to see how we are going to do that. So quickly, now just to have a glance, okay, we have the numbers. So here let me also show you something. Training images. They wanted to know how the first sample look like. I can click like this, training test images. So these are all the values. Can you see this? Can you see it on my screen? So many values are there, 0, 0, 2, 53, 178, all those things. So this is how the first image in the testing data looks like. All the values. So as some of you know already, so let me say this thing. As some of you know, so a color image in general, all of us have some images from the mobile phones everywhere. A color image is mathematically nothing but a matrix of 3 dimensions. M rows, n columns, and 3. And 3 corresponds to RGB, red, green, and blue. So we have this, what do you mean by color image? A color image is nothing but, it's just a matrix. And it has so many numerical values inside. And each value generally lies between 0 to 255. And 255 corresponds to the white, 0 corresponds to the black. And this is 0 to 255 if we consider 8-bit representation 8-bit representation of the pixel value to the power of 8 minus 1. Okay. So, and in case of a color image, we have 3 layers, m by n by 3. But here we have only 1 layer. Suppose in case of a grayscale image, we have only 1 layer, m by n, m rows and then n columns. And here we have 28 by 28, 28 rows and 28 columns. And that's what our image is. That's it. 28 columns, 28 rows. So square matrix. And that's what is our input. Hello? Hello, somebody is speaking. Can you please mute yourself? Hello. Venki Boya. Can you please mute yourself? Venki Boya, sir. Hello. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, so this 28 by 28 is in our case our matrix. Okay, MNIST images. Every image is like has dimensions 28 by 28, and each value lies between 0 to 255 because it's an 8-bit representation of the. Hello, please, Venki Boya. Venki Boya, can you please mute yourself?
ఈడే సరిపోతుంది. ఏం పేరు రాసింటారు? ఊరుగా పిల్లల్ని వీరేషన్ పంపించిన కూడా ఇస్తారు. నాకేమంటే టైం లేక ఊరిని దీంట్లో లేదు.
హలో,
ఆ చిట్కిలో ఇవ్వాలి కదా పేపర్. చిట్కిలో లోపల స్వామి ఉంటాడు కదా. ఆ చిట్కిలోనే కదా ఆయన సంతకం మొత్తం పత్రాలు ఇచ్చేది. లోపల సపరేట్ ఉంటుంది పత్రాలు ఇచ్చేది.
Okay. Yeah, so please look into this. Yeah. So before we go for this developing the network architecture, building the network architecture, Let us see some of the testing samples of
ఆయనకి ఇచ్చినా
changing
కూడా
images. Just give me a moment. Hello, sir. Sir, are you online, sir? Hello. Chittaranjan Mahapatra, sir, are you online, sir? Hello. Hello, Mahapatra, sir, are you online, sir? Hello. Give me a moment. I'll call sir and ask the participant. Yeah, please stay. I'll request Mahapatra sir to mute the participant. Please stay. Yeah, it is done. Yeah, sorry, we can continue. Yeah, we can continue. So as you can see, all of you please type it. Just to see for yourself. We are going slow. So once this step is done, test images, and then the square brackets you write 1 or 5 or anything. So you'll be getting so many values. And all these values are the pixel values. The highest value is the 255. Okay, 8-bit representation of the color. It is the first one. Actually second one because image starts from 0. Anyhow, so you can again put any value and you can see so many things. Test images or train images. So these are the values. Now what we're going to do, we'll take any image we would like to have a look. How does it look like? So for that, so we are importing matplotlib. So digit is equal to train underscore images 5 or 4 or 3. Any value you can take. You can take till 60,000, 0 to 60,000 minus 1. Okay. And you can take any value in case of train images. And then import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. We are importing this matplotlib, which can use for drawing figures. And this command plt.imshow. Im stands for the image. Okay. Imshow is the same function available in MATLAB as well. So plt.imshow. Which figure we would like to, which matrix? Digit. So digit right now is a NumPy array, 2-dimensional NumPy array. Okay. So that is the digit. And then the color map we are giving is the CEM stands for the color map binary. So it is binary as the 0 or 1. So you are giving it like this and plt.show. You just run this thing and you should be able to see like different colors. If the different digits. Let me copy this, Control C, and then Control V. Choose any value, no issue. 10, and then let me run it. So this is 3, and you can take 14. So this is the data set we are working on. So this is obviously corresponds to 7. Okay. Of course, we can have so many all the figures in one go, and we can have a look. All those things are not required. So these are like the sample images look like. Now comes the main step. Okay. So using the Keras, like how can we build the network architecture? See, there are two aspects. I can talk about it in the figure. There are two aspects. Okay. There are two aspects to this network. What is that? One is the physicality, the anatomy, and the architecture. How many inputs, how many outputs, the number of hidden layers, and in each hidden layer, how many number of neurons are there. That is one aspect. Okay. And also the activation function at each neuron. So that is one aspect. Okay. And after that, what loss function we are going to use. Okay. And what optimization algorithm we are going to use. And what model performance, like whether it is accuracy, precision, or recall, or reference score, or any other custom model like performance measure. So that is another aspect. So one, you can say something to do with the physicality, like for a person, how he looks like physically. The second thing is maybe his intelligence, what's happening inside his brain, something in a very crude analogy. So these two things we have to handle. The first one we are going to do is the physicality. The architecture, how many layers will be there, okay, the number of neurons in the layer, okay, and then the number of activation functions. So for this purpose, we are going to use these two, like we are going to import models and layers from Keras. So step 3 and step 4, these are the two key steps you need to understand from an algorithmic aspect. After that, everything is a very small things on which you already know, which we have discussed yesterday. So let's spend some time. So step 3 is building network architecture. From Keras, import models. So coming to this model, so in Keras, we can have two different kinds of models. One is a sequential model, okay. The other one is called functional API. Almost all the time, we need only sequential, okay. Even for RNNs or feed-forward neural networks, LSTMs, everywhere we use only sequential. Functional API is for a special case where you want to build a, what should I say, directed acyclic graphs of your own architecture, of your own topology. It's a custom-based architectures. So in such a case, you go for functional API. In fact, in general, we don't need that. So directly, in the two different types of models are available, and out of the two different types, we will be calling the sequential model. Okay. So from Keras, import models, and from Keras again import layers. In one line, you can write import models comma layers also. It is also possible and it is fine. So after importing these two, please type it or copy it. Okay. After importing, we are saying what kind of a model we are going to build. And I'm using this variable network, and many people in many locations you will see the word model is used, MODEL, instead of network. Anything is fine. You can give any name. So network is equal to models dot sequential. So we are deciding that yes, we are going to use a sequential type of model, like sequential in the sense one input layer, and then the next read, and then the next, and so on. A sequence of like flow of information from input layer till the output layer. You can say that. Okay. Models sequential. This line. After that, as I told you, this thing needs to come into picture. We need to decide what is the dimension of my input layer. Are you understanding? So we need to decide what is the dimension of my input layer. It means how many input neurons should be there, how many neurons should be there in my input layer, that I have to decide. So that is decided like this. Network dot add. We are adding the layer. So firstly, we have to add this layer, the input layer. We are adding the layer. Network dot add. Layers dot dense. What do you mean by dense? Dense means, as I told you, from every neuron, suppose you take this neuron, from this neuron, there is a connection to every other neuron, the next layer. So that is the densely connected layers. Okay. Okay, runtime disconnected. Yes. So that is the dense, DEN capital NCE. That is what it corresponds to. And now the input shape. Just 1 second. Yeah. The input shape that I'm going to give is that, see, what am I going to do is that, let me make it very clear. I have a 28 by 28 image. I have a matrix. I have a matrix of 28 by 28. What am I going to do? This 28 by 28 matrix, I'm going to convert into a one single column. And this operation is called flattening. Flattening, flattening. So let me show you the picture. We have a 28 by 28 matrix, and that will be converted into, like, all these values will be put into one column, and that will be 28 by 28. I think 786. I think, I'm not sure. Just wait, let me check. 28 by 28. What is the value? 28 square. It will come out to be 784. Sorry, 784. 784 by 1. So this operation, this converting a matrix into this one column, that is called flattening. Flattening. It's not only like 28 to 21 also you may say. Even a 3-dimensional matrix also you can convert into a 1 column. Okay? And also it is called flagging. Anyhow, for the time being, this is sufficient. 784 by 1. So now what am I going to do? My input layer, each value will be an input to my network. I'm going to design a network which will take all these 784 values as my input. Are you understanding? So each and every pixel value will be taken as an input. And now they will be connected to another hidden layer which will have the number of neurons, say 512. How many has been chosen here? 512. My hidden layer here is having 512 neurons. And I know that my output will be always the number of these neurons in the output layer will be always 10, because the digits are ranging from 0, 1, 2 and so on 9. I know that my output layer will have 10 neurons. That is fixed. And I have decided that every pixel value I am going to give as an input. So in such a case, my number of neurons, my input layer is 784. And now I need to make a decision on how many hidden layers I will have, and then in each and every hidden layer how many neurons. So for simplicity I have chosen only one hidden layer. That's it. And then I'm choosing only 512 neurons. You can choose anything, 256. Generally, you will see that you choose in terms of 2 power 5, to the power of n, some value to the power of 32, 64, 128, and so on. Okay, that is how you choose in practice. But there is no hard and fast rule. So, and this information that my hidden layer will have 512, my input layer will have 784, 28 by 28. That information we are giving in this line. Please pay attention to this line. Network.add. We are adding the layer. Okay. So layers.dense 512. So the hidden layer will have 512 neurons. And activation function. So there is something called, like they have discussed, ReLU activation function. I will talk about it again. And the input shape. What is the input shape? The number of neurons in the input layer. How many? 28 times 28. So that is 784. Okay. So comma. So here we have to make sure that you put comma, because we'll be giving like more number of images in one go. That is required. Okay. So that is what is happening here. We are defining our input layer. Okay. The dimensionality of the input layer and also the first hidden layer. And coming to the ReLU activation function, I'm sure most of you know this. What is this ReLU?
Sir, one question.
Yep.
512 total number of neurons in the hidden layer. What you have said?
Exactly. Total number of neurons in the first hidden layer.
First hidden layer. Okay.
That for the time being, that is sufficient. If you want to add one more, you can type network.add layers, again dense, like maybe 256 or 128. You can keep on adding few more.
Okay.
Okay. Suppose let me show you this. I won't be executing, but I'm showing you. You want to add one more layer, network.add layers. Dense, instead of 512, you can go for 256. And then activation generally will be only there. Okay. So if you put like this, one more layer will be placed automatically.
Okay, understood.
After this, generally, like declaration, Control C, Control V. From 256 will come to 128 or 64, and then 64 to 10. So this is the general like one architecture. You start with a bigger one, 784, and then drop down to 512, and then 256, and then 64, and then 10. So this is one method of building a network architecture. But here, just to show the illustration, we are using only one hidden layer. Okay.
Okay.
After that, and as I told you, like now we are directly coming to our output layer. In the output layer, and we know that the distinct digits that are possible is only 10, 0 to 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on 9. So the number of neurons, we are putting it as 10. And the activation function, here we are using the softmax activation function. So let me talk about this ReLU and softmax a bit. So ReLU activation function. What is this ReLU activation function? So very famous. What is that? This ReLU activation function, we call it as y, and this is x. If x is negative, if x is a negative value, it will simply output. If x is a negative value, it will simply show y is equal to 0. And if x is a positive value, it will show y equal to x. That's it. Other words, simply maximum of 0, x, y is equal to. So this function is called ReLU, rectified linear unit. And this is nowadays, maybe 2 decades back or 3 decades back, resistive function has been used like extensively everywhere, in every node. Okay. That is why in some of the textbooks you will see that in the hidden layers. or in
Sir,
the
please,
output layer.
excuse me, sir. Please repeat the rectified unit.
Okay. Rectified linear unit. Okay.
Okay.
Suppose if my x, see, rectified linear unit is a function. It is a
Sure.
function. And what is this function? If my input value is negative, it will give the output is equal to 0. If my input is negative, the output y is equal to 0. If my input is positive, it will simply output that value. That's it. Is it clear, sir? If my input is negative, it will not be
When input is positive, the output will be?
the same. The output will be the same as the input, y equal to x.
Okay.
Y equal to x, straight line with 45 degrees.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sir.
Y equal to x. If it is negative, it will say y equal to 0. Okay. So that is this ReLU, rectified linear unit. And there are so many variants of rectified linear units for different reasons. I will not go to it. Something called leaky ReLU, and many other things are there. So, but yeah, is it clear? Very simple function. If it is negative, the output is 0. If it is positive, the output is the same thing as the input. That is the ReLU, rectified linear unit activation function. Okay, so that is the ReLU. And coming to the softmax activation function, so I'm erasing all these things. Okay, so coming to the softmax activation function, it is also extremely used. Softmax activation function is used only in general, only in the output layer. In all the previous layers, we generally use the ReLU. This is the trend going on right now. Okay, use ReLU or modified versions of ReLU like this. For normal simple works, ReLU is sufficient for all the neurons in the hidden layer. Okay, except the output layer. In the output layer, we go for softmax. So what is this softmax? Suppose 3, 2, 5, 6. These are my values. Okay, 3, 2, 5, 6. What the softmax function does is that it will take 3 and then e to the power of 3. Okay, divided by, simply it will take e to the power of 2, e to the power of 5, e to the power of 6. Okay, and the output is e to the power of 3 by e power 3 plus e power 2 plus e power 5 plus e power 6. So this is the output from the softmax activation function. Are you understanding? It will take all the values, and all these values are like raised to the power of something. Okay, and then they are normalized. So, and you will see that summation of all these values will be definitely equal to all these values. Summation of all these values is equal to 1. Okay, so this is what the softmax activation function does. Whatever the set of the input values it is taking, okay, it will raise them e to the power of z by summation of e to the power of zi by summation of zi. So this is what you see. Softmax activation function, that is the outcome, that is the output y at node I. Okay, so this is extremely helpful. Is it clear? Suppose you have 3, 2, 5, 6. Simply e to the power of 3 by e to the power of 3 plus e to the power of 2 plus 5 plus 6. This is the outcome. This is the one output. And here another output is e to the power of 2b e to the power of 2 divided by this one, the whole. And again here like this, like this. So this is a softmax activation function. And all of you must know the softmax activation function. So because whatever classification you do, whatever the classification you do in the output layer, you will have. So this is what I want trying to convey. E to the power of Zi, suppose 1.3, 5.1, 2.2 and so on. You have all these values. What this softmax activation function does is that e to the power of 1.3 divided by all these e to the power of 1.3 plus e to the power of 5.1 plus e to the power of 2.2 and so on. Ultimately, you will get these things. These are nothing but the probabilities. So open this. So, and there is a reason, mathematical explanation, why it is used, what is the advantage, many things are there. But we must know the softmax activation function. And as you can see, if you add all these values, 0.90 plus 0.05 and so on, these values, summation will be equal to 1. And softmax function, activation function will be used in the output layer. Now all the previous layers, we are going to use the rectified linear unit. And that's what we have done. Quickly, okay. So now the physicality is over. The network building, the architecture is over. We can copy these lines and then run it here. Okay. Yeah. So this is done. Now comes, so few things very slightly difficult. So the loss function, so I will not go through the mathematical concepts. You have to decide what is the loss, what is the function. If you know gradient descent optimization algorithm, so gradient descent finds the local optima, okay, local minima of a given loss function or the cost function. But we need to decide what is our cost function. So in case of regression problem, we have the mean square error, okay. And here, what do we have? Mean square error as a cost function. Here we have something called categorical cross entropy, or something, or for simplicity you can say, if you have two classes, it's called binary cross entropy. You don't want to go to the details, the mathematics, the formula. I just want to show it to you. This is how, if you have two binary cross entropy, that's how it looks like. The cost function, same cost function is in a logistic regression also. So that's how it looks like. Yi is the actual one, actual label, and P cap I is the prediction outcome. You have the target and you have the prediction. And if you put in this formula, this formula also can be derived. Again, we won't go through all those things. This is how a binary cross entropy looks like. In case of categorical cross entropy, the function will also be similar. In case of binary cross entropy, it is either 0 or 1. But now we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till 9. That's why we are going for this categorical cross entropy. When we have a multi-class, like multi-level classification, the loss function that we can use is that categorical cross entropy. Okay. So yeah, please look into this step. Maybe I need to emphasize again. The physicality is over, the network building is over, but what should be the loss function? And again, the optimization. The gradient descent is the starting point. Okay, like ABCD. After that, so many optimization algorithms are there. Okay, so RMS prop and many things, ADAM optimization, which we are going to use. So in practice, we need not worry much about the optimizer. You can simply put ADAM or RMS prop. It doesn't make a big difference for most of the practical problems. Okay, so this optimization is the mechanism through which the network is going to update the parameters, the bias values, and as well as the weights. So that's what happens, right? In batch propagation algorithm, you randomly initialize the weight values and the bias values, and then slowly you compute the errors, and then from the output layer you compute the error at the output layer. The error at the output layer will be used in computing the error at the hidden layers, and that will be used in changing the weights and bias values. So many things are there. So all those things are they'll be taken, they'll be running at the back. You don't need to worry about the method. But this optimizer we need to specify. Say I'm using Adam. Okay. You can use RMS prop, no issue. Okay. The loss function we need to decide. If it is like two variables, like cat or dog, present or absent, success or failure, then we can go for this binary cross entropy. Right now we have 10 categories. 10 neurons in the output layer. We are going for the category.
Venkat sir,
cross.
excuse
Yeah.
me. Have you shared this file link?
Yeah, I have already shared with everyone.
Okay, this file on which you are working now.
Yeah, I have already shared it now. It is
Okay,
already
okay.
there in the chat box.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Please continue, sir. Okay.
It is already shared. I think it has been already shared by Mahapatra sir also in the chat box. Sir has shared it multiple times. Okay, please okay, let me share it again then. Same one or no? I'm sharing it again. Please check it. If it doesn't work, it should work. Let me have shared it again.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
So, yeah, network.compile. So this is the compilation of the network. So by the and metrics, coming to the metrics is again there are different performance measures. Right now we only stick to accuracy. No precision, no recall, no FN score, not even any other custom. You can also have a custom metric as well. Nothing will no great stuff. Okay, simply with this just one line, all those things will be taken care of. So these step 3 and step 4 are the new things you must have learned, okay, from this session. Okay, building the network architecture. How do we like import layers, sequential, and then keep on adding the layers? And this network we have to compile it. Okay, using these like arguments. What is the optimization algorithm? What is the loss function? And also what metrics we are interested in. So now the model is ready. We have also compiled it. Now small pre-processing. Everywhere once you have a data, some pre-processing has to be done. And that we are going to do. And then simply use the dot fit function which we have used in the scikit-learn. Similar to the one we have used in the scikit-learn. Dot fit does the training part and dot predict or dot evaluate will do the testing part. That's it. So these steps should be familiar too. Now what kind of a pre-processing we are doing? So all of you please follow this network architecture we have built. After that, let us copy this compilation of the network code and then run it. Bullet typing, you can do the type it also. So step 4, this is done. Now, see now remember, what is that? Our images, our data, the training images. If you recall, what is the shape of it? The training image, see the dimensionality is extremely important. And most of the times you will always look into the shape of the outputs at every distinct when you are writing a program. Let me show you. See our train images, what is the dimension? If you recall, 60,000 comma 28 comma 28. This is what the train images variable has. But our neural network, it has 784 input neurons. So what we need to do, we need to convert this 28 by 28. We need to convert it into 60,000 comma 28 times 28. Are you understanding what I'm saying? This is the data we have, but the network is taking the pixel values as an input in the input layer. So for this 2 by 2 matrix, like here, whatever is here, that also has to be converted into this 28 by 28. Okay. So now it will be, each row will indicate one image. The number of columns will be 784. Are you getting? The train images has to be reshaped like this. From a 3-dimensional matrix to a 2-dimensional matrix, we have to convert. And that can be done very easily using the Python reshape command. There's a command called reshape. RESHAPE. Using that command, we are going to do that. Because 784, that is the input. It is the number of neurons in the input layer. And after that, that is the first step in the pre-processing. The second step is that our values are ranging from 0 to 255. Okay, because it's 8-bit representation of the color. So we are going to simply divide with the highest value, 255, to change these values ranges from 0 to 1. Okay, so that is just dividing by the maximum value, it will normalize the data. Very simple. So these two steps we are going to do using this these lines. Please pay attention. Train underscore images is equal to train underscore images dot reshape. The reshape command which is available in Python NumPy. Okay, so NumPy LWD 60,000 comma 28 times 28. Okay, don't put this comma in your code. Whatever the comma I have written here, don't put this comma. Okay, please don't put that. Yeah, so please type this line or copy this. Train underscore images dot reshape 60,000 comma 28 times 28. Okay, after this, the dimensionality of the train underscore images will change. And again, now all these values, since the image pixel value cannot be negative, isn't it? So they are generally in the form of a uint8. I don't want to talk about it much. uint8. What is this uint8? It is unsigned integer. Unsigned integer and then 8-bit representation, which means the values lie between 0 to 255. So for many benefits, what we do is that we will be converting them to the float and then we are going to divide by 255. And that is what we are doing. So after converting this image, these train underscore images to 60,000 comma 28 times 28, we are converting into the float 32. Okay, and then dividing by the maximum value, that is 255. So that is what we are doing for the training images. The same thing is done also for the testing images. So we are preparing our image data. So copy, Control C, and then Control V. And after running this, you can check into the values, train images, Control C, Control V. Say, let me look into the value, the second one. Now the values will lie between 0 and 1. You can see it, right? 0.66 and so on. No 255, 172, all those values are lost. Okay? They have been transformed to the values lying between 0 and 1. So that is this train images. Okay? Now the pre-processing of the data is also done. So what we need to do now is simply the training, the machine learning, neural network learning, the learning part we need to do. And that is done in the step 7. Simply network.fit.
Excuse me, sir. So
Yeah,
just
please,
after step 5, train images. After step 5, we talk about step 5 only.
Yeah.
Okay, how could we get this array, like your test images array?
After you just test, see,
Train images. Yes, sir.
did you call?
We entered the all codings in step 5.
Okay.
And in order to get the array, we have to only type train underscore images.
Images, and then you give a if you type like this, it will give all the 60,000 images. So
Okay.
the system, like, it will not look good. Guys,
Okay.
let me run it.
We want. Okay.
Now you will get so many values. Okay. Let's look at only one particular image. Say fifth
This
one. Okay. Or say any value you can take, 15. Parent square brackets, and then run. You will get the whole that this value.
So what is this 15 indicates?
15 indicates 16th row, 16th image. In Python, indexing starts from 0 to okay. So it indicates the 16th row, the 16th image that we are dealing.
Okay. Okay.
Dot shape. If you want the dot shape, like if you want the shape of the
Okay, sir.
784 values.
Okay, sir.
Okay, train images. You can click any 15 or 25 till 59,999 you can go. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So similarly, you can go for test images. Everything the same thing will come. So that is the step 5. So after that, let me show you something. I'll come to this preparing the labels. Just quickly, I'm showing you dot fit, which we have run yesterday. That will do the training part. That's it. After that, we have to check the performance and the evaluation in the test images. So through step 8, this training or developing a deep learning model is done. So let me go back again. Now, let us look at the test labels or train labels. Please type the train labels, train underscore labels, and see what is the output.
Train underscore labels.
Yeah, let us see, observe what is the output. So you are getting 5, 0, 4, and so on. So what is happening? Just type it and then see. So what is happening is simply a given image. Let me show it here. That will be better. Suppose the image is say like this 7. It is a 28 by 28 cross image. Okay, this is the input, and this is the output. Okay. Okay, what is happening here is that this 28 by 28 matrix, the output is 7. And similarly, and we have, I'm not drawing it properly, it's fine. This is 8. The output is 8. Now what we are doing is that, just like what we are going to do is that this 7, 8, or any value 3, 2, we are going to represent them in a slightly different notation, because that is called one-hot encoding. So what we are going to do, so the 7 will be represented by 0, 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are you understanding? This 8 will be represented by
The
0.
seventh element will be 1 and rest of the elements will be 0.
0. Yeah, as simple as that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In case of 3, it will be 1. I think you understood. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this kind of a representation, say this is called one-hot encoding, and that can be done automatically using one function available in the Keras. Are you understanding? Instead of writing 7, so we are going to represent this 7 as a like 0, 0, 0, 0 and so on, 1, 0, 0, 0. So this thing, categorical, using the categorical representation we are going to do, and that is what is the steps, step 6, preparing the labels. That is what we are trying to do here. The corresponding label has been changed to the binary values. Okay. So in order to run it, in order to use that function, from tensorflow.keras.utils, you import 2 underscore categorical. You import it. So 2 underscore categorical is the function or is the class we need. Okay, is the class we need to get it done.
Right, sir.
To make this kind of a transformation. So you type it from tensorflow, or you simply copy everything and run it. Control C, Control V. After this, you again type train labels or test labels. You type it and then see what is the values coming. You can see the change right now. All of you, please do that. Hello. So I haven't taken the feedback for so long. Maybe I'm almost at the end. How many of you have followed till this step?
Sir, we have been following, but you bit fast today, so that is why.
Okay, okay. No, actually, I'm asking you to run, not to type it. I want you to copy and run it. If you
But
keep
still,
on,
still some error is showing. I don't know why. Still some error is showing. We understood and this coding part, but still some error is showing.
actually, the errors will be because you are not running the previous code, or there is some indentation issues since it is a Python program. So small things will
So,
be there.
so each and every step, once the coding is entered, each and every step has to be run.
Has to be run. Without running,
It-
you cannot run the other issues. There will be some problem will come at the later.
If step 1 is not run, then we cannot go to the step 2.
No, you cannot go.
Okay, sir.
That is one error. Sometimes copying some parentheses, those things will be lost.
No,
And-
so yes, sir.
So,
Sir, excuse
yeah,
me,
please,
sir.
yeah, please tell me, ma'am.
Sir, one thing is like suppose you are sharing a collab link with us, right? And after that you are making some updations in that file. Can we still find that updation in the file that you shared with us?
See, I'm not making many updation at all. That is one thing. The second thing, if I'm making
Okay.
any updation, whether it will be reflected or not, I do not know exactly. I think it will be reflected. Okay, it will be reflected, but no updations are being made in the actual file. The same thing is there.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And some people are asking how to save the models and all those things. I'll come to that at the end. Okay. So .h, I'm asking how to write a code for creating and saving a .h5 file. So I'll come to that at the end. I'll just give you one book, or I will show you the code. Just you need to copy the code and run it. I'll show it at the end. Okay, please wait for a while. Yeah, how many of you are following till this step
Up to step
6?
6, up to step 6, it is fine, sir.
Up to step 6, it is fine, right?
It's fine. Up to step 6, it
So-
is fine. But don't know why this train underscore images within bracket 15, that I mean coding is not run properly. So some error it is showing. Input error. IPython hyphen input 15 in module, there is some
Okay, so
numpy and
NumPy.
array. Numpy and numpy
you
and
should
arrow.
see, as you can see, I'm not running.
Object is not callable. It is showing object is not callable.
I think you are using, let me tell you, instead of brackets, you are using parentheses. You have to use a square brackets, not parentheses.
Okay.
Please try it.
Okay, sir.
I think you have used, if it is callable, you must have used the parentheses. Please try that.
1 minute, sir. Otherwise, rest part is fine.
It is working.
1 minute, sir.
And others also, please, almost
Yes, sir.
everything,
It works fine. It works fine.
it works fine.
It works fine.
So these parentheses and square brackets, common mistakes when we are new to the.
Sir, one doubt. Train underscore images 15. I entered in coding. So it shows. I mean some values. How to interpret the output?
That is what I told you now. Initially, the image values are 0 to 255. Now, what we are
Right.
doing, each value we are dividing by 255. So
Right.
now the values will lie between 0 and 1. So simply the initial values divided by 255 is the interpretation. That's it.
Okay, sir. Done, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So now coming to this, step 6 is also done.
Yes, sir.
Step 7. Okay. So pay attention.
Yes, sir.
And epochs, batch size, I'm sure you must have aware of it, but many people are asking some questions, programming questions. So epochs, I think you know, right? How many times you have to, the whole
Epochs
data
are-
set,
Yes,
whole
sir.
data set, how many times it has to be passed through training, updating the weights and biases. And batch size is, instead of taking out all the images at one time, okay, you will be taking small images, a group of images, and then do the updation of weights and biases. That is the batch size. So,
Sir, please repeat this epoch.
okay, let me tell you the epoch again. See, what is this epoch? EPOCH. We have 60,000 training images. Okay. See, these 60,000 training images, will be split into batches of 128, 128, 128, and so on. So many batches. Summation of all these values still it will go to 60,000. Are you getting? That's called a mini batch. So
Yes.
in one iteration, when we are updating the weight matrix or the weight values and the bias values, okay, we will take only these 128 samples and then do the whole process. Like this, I will do initially say iteration 1. Okay, 128 I will do, and then 120, next 128, and then next 128, and so on. Till I will finish the 60,000 images.
Sir,
So-
why it is 128?
No, you can choose anything.
Okay,
128
just
or
for the sake of
256.
example. Okay.
Generally, in the power of 2 power order, you take 2 power
Okay. 2 to the power
5 or 2
X.
to the power of 6, like this you take.
Right, sir.
So like this, and then so if you pass through all your training samples at once, that is called one epoch. Are you understanding? If the training or updation of weights and biases is done, okay, by passing through each and every instance in the data set, the training data set, that is called one epoch. Like this, you have to repeat the process so many times. 20 times or 30 times or 40 times, depending on computation and depending on the time you can afford, or depending on how much accuracy you are getting. An epoch is nothing but one whole pass to the training data that is available. Is it clear?
Yeah, it's a kind of iteration. So first iteration is one epoch.
Yeah, one epoch. The whole part, passing the whole training data set for the updation in the bias and weights. So that is the epoch. And for simplicity, we are choosing only 5 epochs, and batch size. We are taking 128 batch size. You can take 256 also, no issues. And obviously, the main input is the input data and the corresponding label. You have to take. Is it clear?
Sir,
So-
epoch 5 means 5 iterations.
5
will be there.
iterations. Yeah, 5 iterations in the whole
iterations will
training
be there.
data set.
Okay. And sir, it is showing 4S, 7 ms per step. Loss percentage is given in decimal and accuracy percentage is given in decimal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is very good. You please run this line, step 7. All of you please run it.
Yeah,
Copy
it's
it and-
already done, sir.
Yeah, that's also please run.
Yes.
So
So
if you
batch
run-
size we can change. We can make it 256 or we can make it 512. Batch
Or
size
you
can be changed.
It can be changed. You can make it any value also, 50,
So 2
40,
to the
any
power.
value you can take.
It should be 2 to the power x.
No, it need not be to the power of 8. Suppose instead of 128, you can take any other value also.
Okay, sir.
But it is just a normal practice. People are following and they are following. Okay, just a normal practice. It
Okay.
may have some slight advantages, but not serious advantages.
Sir, what does this 7 ms per step indicates?
What?
7 ms per step.
9 milliseconds,
Okay, 7
Per step.
milliseconds. Okay, 7 milliseconds per step.
and the
Okay.
whole epoch maybe it has taken 5 seconds,
Yes, sir.
like this. Okay, and
Yes.
the loss value is when we are updating the weights and the bias values. The loss, what is the loss we have defined? The categorical cross entropy loss value we found is 0.2733 in the first iteration. And the
Right.
accuracy that we are getting in the first iteration is directly 92.14%.
Right, sir.
So what is
Similarly,
cross
as-
entropy?
Yeah, that is what I have shown you. Just wait. What is the cross entropy? See, like you have, what is the cross entropy? Say y is the actual target value. yi is the target value. Okay. Say 7 or 8. In case of digits, it is the target value. And pi cap is the prediction from the model. Are you understanding? yi is the target value. Say in case of say 0 or 1 binary case, or pi is your prediction. Say 0.8 or 0.7. Everywhere you have the target value and you have the prediction. Okay. So when you have these values, the binary cross entropy is defined like this: yi log cap of yi plus 1 minus yi log of 1 minus y cap of e. Okay.
Okay.
Summation of log loss, summation of summation over all the training samples, I equal to 1 to m. M here is a 60,000 training samples. And here, this is a binary cross entropy where you have from 0 to 1. Okay?
Okay. So
Yeah,
can
the
you
fun-
wait for a while? I will copy this.
Hello, what are you saying?
I will copy this equation. Can you wait for a while?
Yeah, fine. You can do that.
Venkat sir,
Yeah, please, sir.
kindly look at this chat box. Few other participants are having some doubts. Please look at the chat. Chat box.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, please. Ma'am, this cross entropy is readily available in the Google. You can type it and get it. Or you can take an image instead of noting it down. You can take a snapshot with your
Yes, sir. I
camera.
will take the snapshot, please. Yeah, just a minute, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, done.
So I think the session is supposed to end at 11 o'clock, and we have at 11:30 have another session. I'll be answering your queries from now onwards. Almost everything is done. If you look at the code after training and then testing on the dot evaluate and the testing data, the accuracy has been predicted. Please look at the program. Everything is done. This should be clear.
Sir, there is some question from participants.
Sure,
in
sir.
the
I will
chat.
answer. Okay, I will
Yeah.
answer.
Yes.
Okay,
Sir,
fine.
why actually it is, why we are giving the data in batches? What is the advantage of giving the data in batches instead of
Okay.
giving all the data at a time?
See, if you give all at a time, some issues like memory issues will come. Are you understanding? 60,000 images and running them, and the iterations will take too long to converge. Hello?
Okay.
The cost function,
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes.
it will take too long to converge. There is something called stochastic gradient also. Okay? Stochastic gradient descent, mini batch gradient descent, and then the full batch gradient descent. So right now we are following the mini batch gradient descent. Okay, that is the reason. And other queries, let me ask me. Coming to the coding of writing saving.h5 file, I'll show it at the end. I'll answer the other queries right now. How can we save the model weights? Okay, that is very good question. Can you please explain the concept of the train labels and test labels? First, let me show how to save the models. Okay, please wait. Please be on the line. Okay, because I don't remember the code. I'll just show the code, run it along with you right now. Just give me 1 minute. I thought whenever tutorial, everything is available. If you have saved it, yeah. So I'll quickly show you, or maybe I'll share this book with you. Chapter 13 of Deep Learning with Python by Jason Brownlee. Whatever you are asking, save your models for later with serialization. Everything is available. And for that, now I have to install this sudo pip install h5py. Okay. So we have to install this h5py. After that, just please hold on. And from keras.models, let me run the code along with you. Import model from JSON. Control C. Okay. Please pay attention. From keras.models, import model underscore from underscore JSON. So we can save the model like this for predicting the next. Please copy this line and run it here. From keras.models, import model underscore. Fitting is over. Just a minute. Model from JSON. I'm running this. After running this, just let me show you the code again. So this is the command you need, model from JSON. And now, simply like this, you can write it. Serialize the model to JSON. So this is the command you need for saving the model and as well as saving the weights. Please, model dot to JSON. Just this is the line. Copy. Control V. Instead of model, please remember we have to write network because I have used the word network in our program. Okay, network to JSON, it will automatically serialize to, like it will be stored in this model underscore JSON. Right now, again, just one more line for very important step. Okay, I am very thankful that you asked this question. Copy this thing, and then it will be automatically written to model_JSON. Let me write it in the same line. Model_JSON. This is the line. These are the three. Just which. Okay, indentation issue. Okay, indentation. Is it clear? Hello, the person who raised the question. How do I save the model to how do I save the model? This is how you save the model. Okay, you will import this from keras.models import model underscore from JSON, and using this network.to_JSON model JSON, and this is how you save the model. Yes, sir. Thank you.
But sir,
Yeah,
sir,
the weights.
so once we have that model, suppose that model is saved. Now somebody else want to use it.
Yeah, that is
So what?
that is what I'm addressing. Just hold on. That is there here itself. Again, I don't remember the code. Second thing, just I told you there are two things. One is the architecture. Second thing is the weights. The models can be saved as directly with this command. This is also extremely important. Please note it down. These two steps are extremely important. And especially for people. Now I did not use the word model. The variable I have used is the network. NETWRK. But the problem is I have to install that HD5 that then we could now it may show some other, I don't know, anyhow. So now it is shown. It is saved as save weights model.h5. Yeah, please look into this. Yeah. You please click on this button, the local directory. You will see that my model is saved here, model as model.json. The weights are also saved as .h5, model.h5. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Simply few lines of code. So you can save the model as well as save the weights. And the question now is, how do we load them back? For loading also everything, there are two lines. Let me, this is the how you load. Later, load JSON and create the model. If you can see my screen, okay. Chapter 13 of the book, Deep Learning with Python by Jason Brownlee. It will explain everything. Or you
So
can
can
see right
you,
now.
sir, please repeat the book?
Okay.
Deep Learning.
Deep Learning with Python. Chapter 13. This is a very simple book and very good book for people who are new. No mathematics.
Sir, 1 minute, sir.
You can take a snapshot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm skipping the loading part and the other part because I have shown it to you now. Chapter 13. You want me to show the code or it's not required? I think I will address other queries. That will be better.
Yes, sir.
See how to load. The load is like this. Open model.json R is the reading mode. Okay, read mode. And loaded model.read with these 4 lines of code. Okay, you can load the model, and the weights also can be loaded like this. Load weights model.h5. Is it clear? Or you want me to copy to run in the Google? This is the code. This is the code for loading the model as well as loading the weights. After this, you can use the model for evaluation and for prediction. Any other queries? Please answer. Vaishali Patel is fine. Okay. Okay, same person, same one. Next one, Tejashwini.h5 file. Tejashwini.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think
Sir,
it's clear.
Sir,
Yeah,
actually, hello, sir, we suppose actually in GitHub we are getting many .h5 files over there for some trained model. So we can also use that directly in a similar way.
Yeah, exactly. See, yeah, that is a very good question. That is what we most of the, I mean, we get the H5 files, but the thing is that depending on the number of outputs, the last layer will be always needs to be tuned according to our requirement. Depending on how many number of outputs are there, like how many number of categories or other things, you have to change the output layer a bit. Then you can change then you can use the weights it directly. If the outputs are also exactly same, then you can, without any modification, you can choose, no issue. And somebody is asking, explain the concept of train labels and test labels. See, there is nothing like a concept, okay, here. Train labels, that we are splitting the data into training data and testing data. The data is split into, say the images are split into training data and then testing data. So these are the images, right? Corresponding to each and every image, we know the actual output, whether it is 7 or 6 or 5, okay? And corresponding to the testing images, we also know whether it is 6 digit or 5 digit or 4 digit or 3 digit. So the corresponding values of the image is nothing but the label. Is it clear? The input is the image. What is the actual value lies in that image here? Which digit is there? That we are writing as the label. That is a train label and the test label. Okay. Any other queries? So the code, I haven't finished it completely, but this network.evaluate, this is nothing but same thing which we have done. You know the test images, the test labels, the prediction is done on the test images, it will be checked with the labels, and the accuracy is predicted is 97.88%, 89%.
So this command will evaluate the accuracy level of network.
Exactly.
Okay.
And few things I wanted to say, but we'll discuss them later. And I recommend that please know about convolutional neural networks on your own. Okay, so they are extremely important for handling images and for many other things. We don't have time for discussing CNNs right now. Any other queries, please type in the chat box, I will address it.
Very nice session, sir. Very
Thank you.
interactive, and we could learn a lot of things
Yeah, thank you very
from
much.
both of your sessions. Really, we are
Yeah,
really
thank you very
thankful to
much.
you.
Welcome. The PDF of the book, I suggest that it is available in that libgen.is. I should not openly say it's not a open. Library Genesis you may download. After online sources, please download, it is available. Okay. The PDF of the book, officially it is not advisable to send the PDF of the book. It's not a free version.
Right, sir.
It is available online readily. You may download it. And one more book I would like to show, Deep Learning with Python by Francois Follett, which is the author of the founder of the Keras. Okay, extremely good book. Whatever
So
I have
please write the book name.
Deep Learning with Python, book by Francois Follett. Extremely good book. Whatever I have typed today, whatever we have discussed today, is directly taken. The code is exactly taken directly from the chapter 2 of this book. Let me also accept that. He is the founder of Keras library itself.
Which books are click at the book so that we can take the screenshot.
Yeah, I have clicked it. It's taking some time to do it.
Okay, sir.
Deep Learning with, I have clicked it. My system is stuck, it seems.
Okay.
Or it is coming. This is the book, Deep Learning with Python by. Okay, you can get it 400 rupees or 500. On Amazon, I got it around 450, 400 like this. Very good book, extraordinary book. So many basic questions, especially for people like us, from non-CS background, not comfortable with programming too much in the beginning. So for those people, and we're also curious about what is exactly each word, for those people, it is extremely good book and a very simple book, small book. But so many other big books. Yeah.
Sir, can you suggest some books for machine learning?
Hands-on machine learning by, I'll just let me show it on the online here itself. Yeah. If you can afford, purchase this book. This book will give us so much of confidence and clarity. Extraordinary book. Programming, theory, everything is discussed in detail. And the book, this is the book. The new version is available. It's an old version. New version is available. You may look into the new version. Hands-on machine learning with scikit-learn and TensorFlow. Don't go for the old version. The new version, you will get everything: supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement,
Okay.
generative models. Okay. The soft copy is available online also. So this is the new version. Extraordinary book. I will say that if I wanted to learn this book completely, it will help you to get into Microsoft, Google, Facebook, everywhere. If you have good basic mathematical skills, especially some of us are good with statistics and mathematics. If you learn this one book, they get into like corporate or even we'll be able to guide many PhD scholars also. Or maybe we'll finish our own PhD. Extremely good book.
This one, hands-on,
This one.
orally.
Yeah. Like it is an overall, all machine learning. What are decision trees? What is the k-nearest neighbor? Unsupervised, everything. And in this book, he will recommend this book. Scikit-learn, TensorFlow, Keras. Okay. In this book, he is going to recommend this book. I have seen this. Other resources. Let me show you. Yeah. The fourth point, Francois Collett's Deep Learning with Python, is a very practical book that covers a large range of topics in a clear and concise way. As you might expect from the author of the excellent Keras library. He is the author of the Keras library itself. Whatever the library we are using, everything is done under his guidance. It favors code examples over mathematical theory. And there are many other books also, but for me, these two books are good enough. Many other books are there. So, any other queries? Please ask. I'm not looking into the chat box. Image processing using deep learning. Okay. See, image processing using deep learning. When we say deep learning, the fundamental thing comes into these convolutional neural networks or generative models. For that also, this hands-on machine learning book is sufficient. Okay. But if you want really specific to image processing, for image processing, the standard book in the world is if you want to know the basics of image processing, Gonzalez and Brooks. So that's a different book. And using deep learning, I have also searched. I did not find any famous book, a standard textbook for in this context. But these two books are the purpose.
Would you please repeat the book you suggested just now on image processing?
No, the same book only I am saying.
Okay.
When we say image processing, suppose deep learning with Python. If you look into the contents of this book, there is the fifth chapter is for the computer vision. Okay. That is only images. What is there?
Okay.
And again, if you go for this hands-on machine learning book also, the contents they are not giving. Okay, just wait. There are also generative models, everything are there, and everything is deals with images only.
Okay, sir.
So these books, they already have enough content for the images. That much I can say. Anything else?
That's it, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Any queries from the coding? From coding or even basic questions on convolution. If somebody work on convolution, there are some fundamental questions also I will try to address.
So can you tell something about transfer learning?
A very good question.
Actually, I want to ask, like in transfer learning model, it is already a trained model is available and we are supposed to use the trained model. But again, as you are saying that we will not modify all the layers. We may have the option to edit the last layer, weights. So in that case, how to do that? Last layer weight updation. What does it mean actually?
See, last layer weight updation, I mean. So I have already prepared for seance also. This is a convolution neural network. Okay. So just wait. Convolution neural network. All of you know, some of you are working. Now the question is, this flattening layer is there, right? Fully connected layer and softmax layer. Can you see my screen, ma'am?
Yes, yes, yes.
Just 1 second. Ma'am. See, fully connected layer and softmax layer. Now, I don't know, I'm not discussing this all the other basics to it. I assume you know it now. Now, in case of softmax layer, we have the number of classes, the problem that we are trying to solve. Suppose using transfer learning, you are taking the network VGC16 or ResNet or DenseNet or GoogleNet, some network architecture you are choosing. Now, what happens? The connections from the fully connected layer to the number of neurons in the softmax layer or the output layer, they are different because the number of output neurons in your case is also different. Are you understanding? That is one reason. The number of neurons in the output layer, like you are using, the number of neurons in the output layer they have trained, they will be different in general. So now there is a weight connections between the fully connected neurons in the fully connected layer and as well as neurons in the softmax layer. There will be new connections for which the proper weight values are not known. Okay? Between the neurons in the fully connected layer as well as the neurons in the softmax layer. And these neurons have to be, the connection weights, they have to be obtained by this training process. And that is what the word fine tuning means. So we are going to update only the weights or the bias values of these connections. So that is what is the transfer learning. In general, people only change the last layer connection strengths, last one layer, and some people change one more layer or two more layers, last 2 layers and last 3 layers. That is what is the transfer learning. Hello, ma'am. Did I answer your query?
Yes. That
And the
means
code-
during code, actually, I'm concerned about the coding part of it. Like during coding, only the fully connected layer part weights will be updated.
Yeah, exactly. Only the weights between the fully connected layer to the softmax layer, only those values will be updated. If you want to update one more layer, hidden layer also you can do. That is possible. See, you have an option to decide which layer weight values. The word freeze is used. Freezing the weights, FREEZE. You can freeze the weights like you want, and you can unfreeze or you can update the weights you want in the whole architecture. In general, the last network or the last 2 hidden layers are being updated. It is possible to do. And if you want me to show the code, I can show some other codes also. I have to check it from my PhD work. It should be available. I have to switch on to my Google Colab and if others, if they have any queries, please ask me. Meanwhile, I will try to open some other codes and show it to others. Other participants, you please ask. Get it shipped.
I think we should stop here because
sir.
we have another session at 11:30.
So,
We can have a break for 15 minutes.
okay, fine, sir.
Sir, if you can share your mail ID or number, Venkat sir.
Yeah, so yeah, my email ID is venkatasainath@gat.edu.
I will share it.
I think sir will be sharing all the details when it tomorrow.
Okay,
Sir will be
okay, sir.
sharing all the details.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome.
Okay,
So
I hope you enjoyed this session. Yes, madam, please go ahead.
Yeah, can you tell us the test timing? Because last time it was 4 p.m. set, and today in the WhatsApp, so many people requested for 6 p.m. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, madam. We will share the test link during the valedictory session. That is 5 p.m. The valedictory session is 5 p.m. Today, na? Valedictory session is scheduled at 5 p.m. So we'll be sharing the test link then only, and the link will be open till 10 p.m. today. Okay, so you can appear the test as per your convenience.
Okay, sir. And second half session will start from 3 p.m. as usual.
Yes, yes. Today we'll start the third session at 3 p.m. and it will continue. There is a session which is a mandatory session by AICT, that is it is on this mental health and yoga. So we need to have a session on that. So that session is scheduled at 4 p.m. As soon as that ends, we'll start the valedictory, and during the valedictory we'll share the test link in the chat box, and that link will be open till 10 p.m. today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I hope all of you have enjoyed this particular session, and actually for the objective of these two sessions, that is today first session and yesterday's third session, is to have some hands-on session so as to make you familiar with the commonly used machine learning platforms and writing the codes. Okay, so basics of writing the codes. So I hope those two sessions will be useful to you. So let us meet at 11:30 for the second session.
Sir, actually today we have UGC NET exam, sir. So
Okay.
that the session, last session, if you won't attend, it will be a problem, sir. Actually, the schedule is from 3 to 6 o'clock.
Okay, okay. No problem, madam. You have attended all the previous sessions, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That won't be a problem. No problem.
Thank you,
But
sir.
try to attend at least log in during the validatory session so that you can get the exam link, quiz test link.
That's true, sir. But I'll be there in the examination from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. They won't allow the phones and
They
all.
allow, yes, yes, yes. Anyway,
That-
you try to contact me in the evening. I will share
Thank-
you the test link.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let us have a small break. Please join by 11:30. We'll start the next session. Okay, thank you.